This video is a review of the basics of using the Goodreader program to make your way around the EFB manuals. The Goodreader program is a very powerful program with lots of fancy features, annotating, underlining, highlighting, etc., most of which at this time would be negated by updating of a manual, so for the most part, I am not going to cover them. I'm going to stick with the basic methodologies of getting around the EFB manuals using the Goodreader program. I'm assuming that everybody has gone to the AA Pilots website and followed the instructions, downloaded the Goodreader program from the App Store, and have downloaded the EFB manuals. With this being completed, I'll start by looking at the iPad after startup. And you should find a screen looking something like this, out of the box icon arrangement. Swiping the screen with your finger or fancy pointing device, you can move to the next page of icons. There you're likely to find your Goodreader program. Wherever you find it, just tap on the Goodreader icon and the program will start up. The Goodreader program has a propensity to display the last page of the last manual you were viewing when you closed out the Goodreader program. This is a good place to start. Displayed here is the table of contents for the 757 MEL. The Goodreader program has a number of ways of making your way around these manuals, the most common of which I refer to as hypertext. You touch on the text and you are brought directly to the location displaying the text information. This is a beautiful thing. Let's take, for example, systems number 29, hydraulics, 29-1 through 29-10. Tap on it and it goes directly to the MEL item 29-1, of course pertaining to hydraulics. From here you can make your way through the pages by simply swiping the screen left or right and making your way up and down through the MEL manual pages. There are a number of touching tapping methodologies used by the Goodreader to navigate the manual, and I'll cover the most common. First, keep in mind that the screen is divided into hotspot areas. First, the middle 1/3 of the screen is dedicated to popping up menus that will further assist you in navigating these manuals. A simple one touch across the bottom, right side, and top comes a menu that will disappear in a moment. We'll go over those items in just a few moments. The left and right center areas of the screen are dedicated to single tap moving up and down through the pages, again, of the MEL manual. Double tapping anywhere on the screen will zoom in on the screen. And from here, if you touch, hold, and swipe, you can move the display around. A two-finger tap will zoom the display back out. A two-finger touch, hold, pinch, or expand will also zoom in and out of the display. The Goodreader has a number of other features to move through these manuals as well. Most of these features can be found on the pop-up menu displayed by tapping the middle of 1/3 of the screen. The first items I'd like to review are down here in the lower left-hand corner. Brightness, by just pressing it up comes a slide bar, and you can control the brightness of the screen. Good thing at night when you turn it on after looking at it in the day. The next item would be this left arrow. It returns you to the last viewed page. A good thing if you happen to misclick and find yourself somewhere you intended not to be. You just click the left arrow and you return to your original page. The last item is this scroll bar. It can actually be used to go find specific page numbers. Unfortunately, all of our manuals are either tabbed or chaptered, and page numbers are virtually worthless. So, unless you're into memorizing pages, this particular tool is good mostly for returning you to the front of the manual where you can start over. Speaking of starting over, making your way to some sort of an index can be rather tedious. As I move through, I find myself on page 10. Well, this manual also has, this Goodreader also has the capability of doing some bookmarking. So in the bookmarks, what we'll do is we'll add a bookmark, and that is done by just tapping on this icon over here. Up comes page 10. If you want to annotate it with something, systems index, click OK. Now, regardless of where you are in the manual, if you select bookmarks by tapping on the middle 1/3 and page 10 index, it will return you to that page, which is very handy. But keep in mind that if you update the manual, these bookmarks will be lost at this point in time. So don't get too carried away with bookmarking everything. Now, while we are on this page, let's look at a few little complications here. Overlay in the middle 1/3 is that pop-up menu, and if you click somewhere on the middle 1/3, you'll pop up the menus. But you may have noticed that I actually touched this blank area. Why? Because there's hypertext here. And so if I'm in the middle 1/3 and I tap on the screen on hypertext, it takes precedence and we find ourselves in flight control. Okay, so I tap on the screen to pull up the menu, use my little left arrow down here at the bottom, return me back to the systems table of contents. Well, when you're tapping on this, if you know you're over hypertext, try and find an area that does not have hypertext that's the middle 1/3 of the screen. Another good place to bookmark might be the alphabetical listing, so you can find an MEL item if it happens to you. Again, what we'll do is bookmark maybe the middle of the MEL list so it's easier to scroll back and forth through that list. Again, tapping on a non-hypertext area, selecting the Add Bookmark, annotate it any way you like, and now, if you're looking for an MEL item, you can go down to your bookmarks and select page 21, make your way up and down through the alphabetical list. These indexes are best used if finding your own MEL item. Like for instance, we'll come down here and look at the mechanical checklist, 25-10. Click on that, you go right to 25-10. Unfortunately, it can be a little unruly once again moving through some of these dashes, 25-13, 25-16. So there's another way of actually searching for an MEL item that you might find in a logbook that's already been placarded. So what I'd like to do is an example of a search here of this MEL. This particular item, the power control unit, 27-14. Notice the nomenclature, no spaces there, just 27-14. And it's not on the same page number as the MEL, and of course it doesn't at all correspond to the page number you see on the bottom of the screen here. So what we'll do for this example is we'll go to some place completely different in the manual that you might see when you first open up your program. In this case, we'll just go back to the index using our bookmark. And we're to do a search. Well, we use this little icon down here at the bottom, little plus minus thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in, just exactly like the nomenclature you'd expect, formatting you'd expect in the MEL, 27-14. When we hit search, we would expect to find this in several different locations. Unfortunately, there's no hypertext here in some of these locations in the manual. So we just have to continue the search by clicking on this little down arrow magnifying glass, and it moves you through the manual. And eventually, you'll make your way to the body of the manual and the MEL item, 2714, power control unit. Now let's take a real-life MEL example. Show up and find an engine anti-ice valve open 30-04B. Well, that nomenclature or formatting we know is not correct for doing a search, and also in the logbook we notice it's a 30-4B. Well, that again is an improper formatting or nomenclature for search, and both of those would fail. So what we have to do is we have to look at a formatting of 30-4. So MEL item open, don't care what it is. We're down here to search. Click on our little magnifying glass. Type in 30-4 only and hit search. And again, we might expect it to stop in several different places, but here we have 30-4A. Well, to make our way to B, we're just going to have to tap on the screen, move through the pages until we find 30-4B. This search method will hold true for CDL items as well, noting the nomenclature. Now, I'd like to cover just a few more menu items. When we first open up the search, you may find that there's several search items already listed. Well, if you want to get rid of those, just tap and slide and hit the delete button. This same methodology holds true for any bookmarks that you want to get rid of. There is an edit button which will do the same thing, but to keep it simple, the tap and slide will work for both menu items. Also, if you find yourself in what they refer to as a text-only mode, kind of ugly, just simply tap on the folder up here and you'll return back to the PDF file. Also, if you're in the wrong manual, 757 MEL CDL in this case, just tap on the middle 1/3 of the screen, pulling up your menus, and select in the upper left-hand corner, Downloads. And voila, there are your complete list of all the downloads that you have, and simply select the next item you want. And while we're here in Volume 2 of the 757 manual, this is far more tedious for doing searches. It's all tabbed. So you find yourself looking for a particular chapter in this thing, and there is no index, and all of these areas are not hypertext. So if you click on something, it won't necessarily take you to that location. My recommendation for searching this is to just come in here and look for instance, the hydraulics, and notice it's 13.10. Okay, so do your search on 13.10.1. So come in here, search 13.10.1, keeping the nomenclature exactly right, hitting search, moving through till it returns the body of the manual and finds that general area chapter, and then make your way through that chapter as needed. A menu item that might be advantageous during the studying phase is if you open up the main menu and select this double page, you can actually have two pages open at once. May be helpful if you've got a schematic on one page and reading information about that schematic on the next page. But that's on single and double page option down here. Now, as for the rest of these manuals and the associated menu options, like I say, a lot of them are destructive when you update the manual. You can play with them, have fun. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I hope it's helped you to some extent making your way through these manuals.